This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
Ooh, that's a little loud. Hi, everybody. It is the After Party live on a Hide in Your Cave Monday. Thank you for being here. Louise, if you are in attendance, I saw your contribution to the Mark Thompson show slide through after the credits were already rolling. I am so sorry I didn't get to it today, but I will get to it tomorrow. So thank you for contributing to that show. This show is crowdfunded as well. So if you are so inclined, you'll find the PayPal information in the show description every single day, as well as in the About tab with a live link. Thanks to Wes, it's in there as well. Thank you for joining me. We're starting this show a little earlier than usual, which I am delighted to do. Looks like a lot of people are waiting around and hanging out in here. Hello to Liz and to Teacher Lori. Thank you for hanging out. And yeah, happy birthday again to Brian Reich, who is, I think he said 72 today. So I'm not sure if Brian's here, but that's amazing. He might just be a Mark Thompson show listener, but that's a nice birthday, and always nice to contribute on your birthday. It feels like we should be giving you something, but instead it's so lovely how people use that special events like that to contribute to these shows. Hello to Nullifidian. Sandy has a birthday tomorrow. Okay, I won't forget. Sandy, happy pre-early birthday, and we will celebrate you tomorrow here on the After Party Live. All right, let's jump into some of these shows on this Hide in Your Cave Monday. First thing I wanted to get to is this story about, let me have it here, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. We'll use that picture. I thought it was appropriate because there is apparently a push to try to get people back into movie theaters by offering marijuana-friendly movies. So you can smoke pot, do whatever you need to do in the movie theater. It's one of several ideas being floated to try to get people to come back to the movies, because while the pandemic is over, people apparently still aren't coming back in the same types of numbers as they were before. So what would they allow to bring people back in? Maybe they'll have a showing where it's okay to text. Maybe they'll have a showing where it's okay to smoke pot. Maybe they'll have a showing where sing-alongs are fine. These are some of the new ideas that are being brought. The thought is that marijuana could bring this new path for movie theaters. The original article was in Variety, floating these ideas about how to bring moviegoers back. But the one about marijuana kind of stands out a little bit. The state of New York really taking this one seriously. The press secretary for the New York State Office of Cannabis Management says the state could soon allow movie theaters to apply for either events permits or consumption lounge licenses, which would let them sell marijuana inside the movie theater. Well, there's a little bump up for your business. Perhaps this is what they need to get them over this hump where people are now streaming so much from home and maybe not going to the big movies, the movie theaters as much as they used to. The article from KTLA says simply allowing patrons to light up in any old theater would be aggravating to those who don't want to contact high, but allowing special 420 friendly showings could spark interest for many people. What do you think? Do you think that you would want to go to the movies and get high? I put this picture in. This is from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but I have another one as well. I couldn't decide between the two. This one is from Half Baked. So, I mean, it would have to be a certain movie, I would think, right? Yeah. I don't know. Not a bad idea, especially if these businesses are struggling. I like the option of going to a movie theater, and I would be sad if the movie theater in my town closed. And so why not? have special events, special movies. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad idea. I'm going to the chat to see what you guys have to say. Maybe edibles and not smoke, says Teacher Lori. Yeah, Nullifidian only watches movies on YouTube. All right. Yeah, a lot of people stream. Nullifidian says, though, be nice if I could still get high. Liz says they could install private suites so the smell stays in that space. Sandy says, I don't think that would fly since all indoor spaces are smoke-free. I don't know how they get around that. Oh, up in smoke. Maybe I should have done that picture as well. All right, I have a video for you guys. There's also a push to make it so that humans become amphibious. Here's this really interesting report from CNN. This is what our underwater homes would look like.
Imagine living in a house like this. It looks pretty cool, if a bit out of place, and that's because it is. It's actually designed to be at the bottom of the sea. It's built by a startup based in the southwest UK with ambitious plans for humans to live underwater by 2027.
Our motto is to make humans aquatic, not just certain humans, all humans.
So we know all this stuff about our solar system and beyond, but we don't know what's on the bottom of our own oceans. I want to go live there so I can learn.
Huge.
A lot of space, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not at all claustrophobic. So if you can imagine a stateroom here with a bed looking out at that.
Yeah. Divers have never lived in such luxury.
I think that's a fair statement. All the other habitats were very utilitarian. You could come down via submarine and never get wet, never have to study scuba, never have to do anything but just experience it. That opens up access to the ocean to millions.
Jacques Cousteau's 1962 continental shelf system was one of the first experiments in underwater living environments. But Deep's ambitions are on another scale. Their main focus is to facilitate scientific research, aiming for people to live and work around 200 meters down for 28 days at a time. The designs for their larger Sentinel model include bedrooms, flushing toilets, and even hot showers. But there's one big question that came straight to my mind. What if there's a leak?
Yeah. There are 4 possible ways of leaving the habitat in various types of emergency.
Do you imagine one day towns, villages?
Our Sentinel habitat is a module. Those modules can be bolted together, so the possibility for subsea villages is absolutely there.
Would people want to live there, do you think?
I would, absolutely.
To make the enormous parts required for the system, the company's developed a technique using welders
Thank you. Helps when I don't unmute myself. So would you want to live underwater? And would you trust that nothing would go wrong? Thank you. I appreciate you guys. You're so funny and nice. Yeah. I don't know if I'm comfortable living underwater. The view definitely so beautiful. Imagine just kind of hanging out like you're living in a fish tank, except you're the one on the inside, watching everything go by. And what happens down there? I mean, you can't leave the house, go for a walk? Can't probably leave and go for a swim even. So are you comfortable living in that kind of environment? Mama says those buildings would be great prisons, maximum security, sentenced to never see the light of day again. I think that's kind of how it would feel, despite the peaceful nature of it and how relaxing it would seem to be to look outside at the fish swimming by. It would feel like you're kind of in lockup, like you can't leave. That's it. After the thing collapsed recently, I'm just dying to live in that, says Blue Spark. Yeah. Sandy says, I'd love to do it temporarily, not sure about forever. Donald worry about the megalodon attack. Yeah, I don't know. Fascinating, though, to put humans in these worlds where humans aren't supposed to exist, right? Living underwater, living in space. So much could go wrong. I don't know. Yeah. Peter writes, Hawaiians have not been as welcoming to tourists as they used to because they're getting priced out of their homes due to the Airbnbs and the affordability of rent and groceries. True or false? So it's interesting. I think part of that is true, but also I've recently seen calls for people to come back, for tourists to come back because they're struggling, especially on Maui, where the rebound of tourism hasn't been as strong. And so now they're asking people to come back. So I don't know if they're not as welcoming. I think they realize while maybe they don't love the idea of having to rely on tourism, they know they need to. So I don't know about the welcoming. I have a hard time feeling like Hawaiians aren't welcoming, but I haven't been at the other end of that. So I don't know. Mo says to cross that street, so many things could go wrong. What do you just let go and do? He said 28 days. Yeah, 28 days is the time frame for how long you would live there. I don't know, but you could live there for longer, probably. I don't know. Liz says tourists from other countries are not coming here. They are staying away. Liz in Hawaii, clearly. So yeah, they're in some trouble there. They need to get some revenue back in. Unfortunately, things haven't picked up as they would have liked. So, yeah. Talk about the sandhill cranes. This is a pretty relaxing picture, isn't it? The sandhill cranes have come back in record numbers. They did a migration survey in Nebraska during the spring migration peak. No signs of bird flu for the sandhill cranes. And this flock measured at a record high 736,000 sandhill cranes flocking to the state of Nebraska during their annual migration. And it looks like at this point they are not affected by bird flu. So this is great news. There's biologists are still concerned about bird flu for them. They congregate on the Platte River every spring. They seem happy and they seem healthy this time around. So far, no deaths of these cranes have been reported in Nebraska. And during the 5th week of the migration, March 17th, scientists went out and did a count. And they say their calculations indicate that there's about 736,000 sandhill cranes between the towns of Chapman and Overton, Nebraska. Those are about 80 miles apart. And that is an all-time record high number of cranes counted in the region at once, and they say that's probably an underestimate as well. Super resilient birds, they say. So, yeah. The number dropped down last week to 705,000, but they say that's to be expected because the birds start heading north for breeding, and they expect the numbers to continue to decrease as these creatures take advantage of favorable conditions. So it looks like they're doing really well. That's exciting. It's exciting to get some good news for a change, right? So a lot of people have pet birds, and depending on where you live, the kind of climate, you may or may not keep your bird cage outside. But if you do keep your bird cage outside, one of the things that is you should note is that they are not impervious to all types of predators, like snakes, depending on where you live. And these people found that out the hard way. They had to call out the snake guys to come make sure that their bird in the cage didn't get attacked.
Now, I'm not going to do too much here. The snake definitely can get in the enclosure. Thankfully, we've got here in time. When I arrived just then, the bird and the snake literally were touching noses then between the enclosure. But thankfully, we're going to be able to catch this carpet python and the bird's going to be all good. Oh, it's a close one. Yeah.
We had this cover on it.
Yeah, so even a snake this size, I'd go close. They'd definitely be able to get its head through, and often once they get their head through, they can really sort of squeeze their body down and get in. So, yeah, that's very lucky. This usually happens early in the night when everybody goes to sleep, and then they wake up and there's obviously just a snake in the enclosure. So it's kind of good that the snake has decided to do it this morning rather than early last night. Poor bird. Yeah, it's one of those things, like I've mentioned it many times, these enclosures, I just don't know how they get away with selling them because they're just not made snake proof.
Yeah.
And I don't know, in my opinion, if you're selling something or buying an enclosure, you want to know that it's snake proof. So.
Yeah.
I love how he just whips that snake into the bag like it's no big deal. Yes, they're not snake proof. Those bird enclosures, not snake proof. So that was kind of a close call for them. Okay, let's move to this story because I have another really good one. Here it is. Okay. Let's see if this is my plan. Yes. Let's talk about spiders and noise. I'm so fascinated by the story, and I'm also so sorry about showing you a picture of a spider. But it turns out spiders weave their webs differently based on sound. What? Yeah. Spiders, according to researchers, build webs differently in loud conditions. There are some lab experiments done showing that spiders change how they construct their webs in noisy environments, and that rural and urban spiders respond differently. City spiders and country spiders build their webs differently, and they're annoyed by different things. I'm so fascinated. Oh my gosh. So the study is published this month in Current Biology. And researchers compared spiders from rural and urban environments and found that they change how they build their webs when they're exposed to noisy conditions. That a spider's coping strategy varied based on its past sound experiments. So that urban and rural spiders react differently when they're put into a noisy environment. The biologist Brandy Pessman out at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln is the lead author of this study. And she said this means spiders with different experiences with noise, whether they themselves experienced it or their mothers passed it down from across generations, whatever, they respond differently. So they looked at the Pennsylvania grass spider, which is a spider that's about the size of a quarter, very widespread across North America. They also are called weaving spiders. They have these tapered tube-shaped webs that aren't sticky. They wait until the prey enters the funnel before they move in and bite and immobilize their meal, okay? The technique depends on the spider being able to instantaneously detect the vibration when an insect bumps into its web, and outside noises could make that more difficult. The biologists say they rely on those accurate vibrations to determine where the prey is, what the prey is, and how to attack it. I would think vibrations would be movement and not sound. Apparently, they're connected. So the researchers went out, they got spiders from both urban and rural settings, and they brought them back to the lab, and they put them into these containers that had speakers. And the speakers either played loud or quiet sounds for 4 days. It's like spider torture. At the end of the experiment, they analyzed the webs by applying vibrations and seeing how the spider silk responded. Under the loud conditions, the spiders from urban areas had woven webs that dampened the applied vibrations, while rural spiders amplified them instead. So city spiders responded to noise by soundproofing their webs and muffling sounds of the environment, and those webs sent fewer vibrations to the spider. They say that this adaptation might block out the sounds of potential mates or some prey, but it also could allow the city spiders to pick up on nearby prey without becoming overstimulated by the noise. Now, not so for the country spider. They weren't used to all the noise, and they reacted by making their webs more sensitive to try to detect prey because of this constant noise being blasted at them for 4 days. The spiders that were from out of town, they built webs that were like turning up the volume to hear the radio better while you're running a blender in the background, according to biologists. The rural spiders weren't used to as much noise in their environment. When they suddenly got a lot of noise, they might try to turn up the volume in their webs or amplify what's coming in to better hear certain signals above the noise. Now, the researchers aren't sure exactly how the spiders make these changes in their webs, so they're trying to continue to study the mechanisms using videos and tracking software. Could have something to do with the anchor placement of the web, the silk structure of the web, they don't know. But how interesting is that? The vibration sense tends to be the forgotten sense in the natural world. So, spiders adapt to noise. I'm fascinated by that one. Okay, I have to thank Wes, who popped in with a $5 super chat to the PayPal. Oh, let me get the spider down. I'm sorry. My apologies for making you guys look at that spider for way too long. There it is. But how cool is that story, right? Thank you to Wes for the $5 super sticker. Thank you also to Joe Fong, who came in with her monthly payment of $50 last night. Donald S. with $30. Janet with 11. Wes with another 5. You guys are so awesome. Thank you for keeping this show going. I just wanted to say thank you and to recognize that those contributions come in during the overnight hours, and I just really, really appreciate it. We'll go to the beach now. No smoking at the beach. In California, that used to be okay, right? It was an outside area. You could smoke. No, not so much anymore. No smoking on the beach. Spain has joined Australia, France, Mexico, the United States, the Philippines, Italy, Thailand, Costa Rica, Brazil, and Portugal in these new beach smoking bans. The whole point is to promote cleaner travel and responsible tourism. And so the list of destinations where it's not okay to smoke on some beaches grows. These new regulations are reshaping beach experiences, I would say, in a more positive way, but also are reflective of a worldwide shift toward more sustainable, responsible tourism. We know when the beach cleanup days happen, so many cigarette butts have to be scooped out of the sand. The thinking is this: international tourism is still, like the movie theater, continuing to bounce back. And so a lot of countries are now rethinking the way they manage public spaces, especially along the coastline. And it is a global trend. So Spain joining this list of countries that are banning smoking on beaches, they're trying to fight pollution, protect ecosystems, and have people think about how to be a more responsible tourist. So, not every beach is like this, but there are some beaches listed where you cannot smoke on the beach. In Hawaii, here in the United States, this is Waikiki Beach in Oahu, Lanikai Beach in Oahu, Poipu Beach in Kauai, Kaanapali Beach in Maui. Those are the no smoking beaches. And there's a list of them in every country. Those are the ones in America. In Mexico, Playa del Carmen, Tulum Beach, Puerto Vallarta Beach, and Mazatlan Beach. Those are the no smoking beaches. Now, I don't know if there's a smoking, guy sitting there watching for you to light up, if there's some kind of enforcement of this, or if they just slap up these no smoking signs and say, no, don't do it, and what the enforcement is here. But I like the idea, and I like that so many countries are getting involved in that. So I say yes, yes to that. So I know that we don't get political on this show, but I do want to tell you about this story And I'll just lay out the facts, and you can make it as political as you want for yourself, all right? Because of all the research budget cuts in America recently, under you know who, 3/4 of scientists that were polled say they are considering leaving the United States and heading to either Europe or Canada. So this poll was published in the scientific journal Nature. It shows 75.3% of responding scientists are considering leaving, 24.7% are not. The good part is the research could happen anywhere. I like that it happens here. I think we have some good ethical rules and a good setup and framework for scientists to succeed, or we did. But the work doesn't stop. So that's the good part of this. The poll shows that scientists, especially those who are younger and early into their careers, were more likely than older scientists to consider leaving the United States. So they looked at 690 postgraduate researchers. Of those, 548 were considering leaving the United States. Of the 340 doctoral students, 255 said they were also considering leaving America for more science-friendly nations. How sad is that? We should be science-friendly. They had about 1,650 scientists respond to this survey. But thousands of federal employees, including scientists, have been fired, some rehired by court order. But it all disrupts their research work when they're fired and the grants are put at risk and they can't get funding here, and that all puts the work at risk, right? Some of the scientists here legally are worried about having their visas taken away. So, one genomics and agriculture grad student who responded to the poll, published at UPI, said, "This is my home. I really love my country, but a lot of my mentors have been telling me to get out right now." That was a student that lost research support when funding was cut off for the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. More funding cuts at the National Institutes of Health, right? So I can see why scientists would be thinking, I've got to go somewhere a little more stable. From that, how about to something a little lighter? This is a story about the most valuable baseball teams in 2025. And Forbes has listed the top 5 most valuable teams. And I have this to show you. I'm putting a little graph up. San Francisco Giants are on there. Look at that. They have ranked the most valuable teams. And here's what it looks like. Let's see if I can make that a little bigger for you. There it is. New York Yankees are the most valuable team of the year. Value is $8.2 billion. Followed by the Los Angeles Dodgers, $6.8 billion. Number 3, the Boston Red Sox at $4.8 billion. Number 4, the Chicago Cubs at $4.6 billion. And 5, the San Francisco Giants at a flat $4 billion. So these are the most valuable Major League Baseball teams in 2025. It's nice to see your team on there. Yeah, why not? San Francisco Giants, the 5th most valuable team in the Major League Baseball. It's a 5% increase from the previous year for the Giants, but they still recorded an operating loss of $24 million. So, yeah. They had the 10th highest payroll in Major League Baseball at $211 million. The New York Yankees have remained the most valuable Major League team every year since 1998 when Forbes started doing this list. And they are the first team to be worth, Major League Baseball team, to be worth more than $8 billion. Interestingly, not on the list, but an interesting note, the A's value has gone up since they left Oakland. No other team saw a larger increase in value more than the A's This according to Forbes. Despite moving into a minor league ballpark in Sacramento for the 2025 season, the team's value jumped 50%. It is currently valued at $1.8 billion. Forbes says the A's eventual move to Las Vegas is increasing the team's value. So, I don't know. We'll see if that stadium gets built, if everything happens. But I thought that was a little interesting to note. So, like to see the Giants on that list, that's for sure. Should we talk about King Tut? Let's do it. There's some new information about King Tut and how he was buried and the rituals involved in this burial. And there's a new study suggesting that King Tut's tomb artifacts are linked to this mysterious Osiris ritual. The study done by an Egyptologist out of Yale University. His name is Nicholas Brown. And Nicholas says Tutankhamun was the first pharaoh to have taken part in an unusual funeral rite known as the Awakening of Osiris, meant to ensure his resurrection in the afterlife. So Brown published his study in the Journal of Egyptian Archaeology, and in it, he presents some pretty compelling evidence for the association of King Tut with this Osiris funeral rite. They say the study focuses on 4 wooden staffs and 4 clay trays that were found inside of these tombs, this tomb. And originally, they thought, well, this is just part of the stuff that was in there. Didn't know what the reason for them was. Now, though, the thought is they might be the oldest known archaeological record of the awakening of the Osiris ritual, deeply rooted in Egyptian mythology, performed to transform the dead king into Osiris, the god of the underworld, securing his life eternally after death. Little cough break, but this is fascinating. Okay, we move on. In Egyptian mythology, Osiris was murdered by his brother Seth. He was then dismembered and then resurrected by his wife Isis. Their son Horus later employed a sacred staff to reawaken Osiris. So the 4 staffs in Tutankhamun's tomb might be interpreted as symbols of this act, with the 4 clay trays possibly serving to hold libations, ritual liquids associated with rejuvenation. So Brown says the 4 staffs resemble the hieroglyph that appears in ancient Egyptian funerary writing, particularly the books of the underworld and the sky, where the god Horus holds the same sign to bring to life a dead pharaoh. So those texts emerged decades later than King Tut's death. But Brown says the ritual might have started with him and then been written down later on. He also says that water from the Nile, used in libations, even called the Eye of Horus, represented rebirth and the defeat of death, and the trays made of Nile mud add an even stronger connection to Osiris, who was associated with fertility and the life-giving attributes of the river. So was it this ritual that was used? Perhaps. Brown says the spiritual restoration extended to the burial rites of King Tut. That the program, the restoration program, not only entailed the reopening of temples and the reestablishment of traditional religious procedures, but revitalized interrupted beliefs about the afterlife. That this awakening of Osiris ritual might have been a way of symbolically validating the legitimacy of these traditional religious thoughts. And that would have solidified King Tut's status as a divine ruler. Those items found in King Tut's tomb show a highly symbolic ceremony intended to ensure his resurrection. That's the thought. Pretty interesting. Speaking of, and here's a picture of Osiris and the four sons. Cool. That's cool. That's just so cool. I have another story for you about an old ski. This is cool. And this is not widely published, so I was really excited to find this story. Back in 2014, archaeology researchers in Norway found a ski that looked an awful lot like this. They couldn't find its matcher. And it wasn't the best preserved ski. But at the time, they thought, ooh, that's a really old ski. They've studied it, they've looked at it, and they thought there's got to be a matcher for this one, right? Well, they found it. This is the best preserved pair of skis from history. The program is called The Secrets of the Ice. And ever since ice has started melting and thawing, interesting things have been uncovered. And that is the Secrets of the Ice program, where archaeologists now go to these areas where some things have been found and they think even more will be uncovered by melting ice. This is an exceptional pre-Viking ski. It is 1,300 years old. They found it at the Daggervarden ice patch in Norway. This ski, complete, including the binding, one of only 2 skis from prehistory in this condition. And so that was in 2014, they found that, right? The new ski, they say, is even better preserved than the first. They call it an unbelievable find. And they were looking for it. They say ever since they found the first ski, they were monitoring this patch of ice, hoping and praying to find the second ski of the pair. 7 years later, yep, they got it. They said they patiently monitored the melt of the ice path in case the second ski of the pair should melt out. They went back in 2016 to survey, didn't see anything. This year, they said they could see on satellite imagery that the ice path had retreated compared to 2014, so they sent an archaeologist to check on it. And they found it. Yep. They went out there, found the second ski in the spot near where the first one was discovered, about 5 meters apart. The ski, though, was firmly wedged in the ice, and they didn't have the equipment to free it in a safe way, so they had to come back. They had to wait for a storm to pass. They had to return with a proper equipment and a larger team. Then snow fell, so that was a problem. They said they had to wait it out. So back they go, and this time they bring ice axes, gas cookers, packing materials. The objective to free this ski from the ice and take it back down in a secure way. Really hard hike up a snowy mountain, snowy, icy mountain, 3 hours up. But they finally find the ski. They used GPS. They knew exactly where it was. So they started to swipe away the snow. And then they had an ice axe and they chipped away the ice and they got to the ski below. The whole length of the ski was visible. So you see a picture of it here. Here they are. They're so excited to have found it. Boy, they sure went to a lot of trouble to get it, though. Here's the length of it. But you can kind of see how long it is with those 2 holding it. And the binding, the leather strap on this. Here's a close-up of it. The leather strap still intact after 1,300 years. Pre-Viking. Here's a guy holding it up. That's a pretty long ski. Pair of the world's oldest skis? That's what it looks like. I love this story so much. So the ski was laying with its underside up. They lifted it carefully from the ice, turned it around, and the binding appeared. Same kind of binding used on the ski from 2014. So the skis are a pair. They were lost together 1,300 years ago. They packed up that ski carefully, and they got it back down the mountain. Before it was dark, they said it was a long return hike, but it was a job well done. So the new ski is the same type as the first ski, broad with a raised foothold, the binding still preserved, just like the one in 2014. It is 187 centimeters long and 17 centimeters wide. The preservation of this ski is better than the last one because it was deeper into the ice. So they say that might account for a little bit of difference in the sizes of the skis. 3 twisted birch bindings and a leather strap and a wooden plug go through the hole in the foothold of the new ski. The one in 14 only had a twisted birch binding and a leather strap through the hole. But both skis have a hole through the tip. Little bit of differences in the carving at the front of the skis. The back end of the new ski is pointed. I mean, it had to be rudimentary. There has to be differences between them. It's not like they have a manufacturing plant 1,300 years ago. The foothold of the new ski, though, shows repairs, so they think it was well used. And a back part of the ski you can see there is missing as well. Maybe they say it's still inside the ice. Maybe that's why they were still there out in the snow. Someone crashed and the ski cracked. Who knows? Whether it broke when it was lost or while inside the ice may be possible to say later on based on a careful study of the edge of the break. Part of the leather strap of the heel binding of the new ski had come off, but it was on the ground close by. So interesting. So one of the questions raised by the ski found in 2014 was whether it originally had fur on the underside, which has implications for what the ski might have been used for. There were no nail holes along the sides of the 2014 ski, which might have been a sign of the fastening of fur. So they couldn't rule that out. They're still looking into it. Let's look at the pictures again. Here's the old ski. Here they are. They're so happy with themselves. I love it. And the binding and a close-up of that leather strap. Pre-Viking, 1,300 years ago. I'll call it the world's oldest skis. All right, you guys ready for it? It is time for Hide in Your Cave Monday. We're ready to hide. We're ready to go in. We'll do it virtually together. So Ricky sent me an idea, and he said, have we been here? And at first I thought we hadn't been here, but it turns out we have been here together. This is the Menga Dolmen, and this is one of the first caves we visited, but I thought, well, why not visit it again anyway? Because this was a cave that was constructed to be all tilty and weird inside. It's a corridor tomb where a forecourt opens to an exterior which leads to a second rectangular section that is a passage leading to an oval-shaped chamber. And it's marked by a slight change in alignment on both sides. They use this orthostatic technique, but it's very cool. It was a tomb made up of 12 upright stones. The shaft aligned with 3 pillars that coincide with the join of the roof stones. I'm fascinated. This is the Menga Dolmen, and it is in Malaga. Well, here's some pictures of the inside of it. This is from the inside looking out. It's a beautiful view. Here's some of those pillars that are all at very strange angles. From there, here's another one. This is called the Vieira Dolmen, and this is close by. Here's the entrance to this cave. And look at that inside. That's a place to hide out for a while for sure. Yeah. The Vieira Dolmen. It's a corridor tomb consisting of this long passage divided into 2 sections. At the end of it, there's a square chamber that you get in through a square door cut into the first stone. It's built in the same way as the other one, with this orthostatic technique using these large upright stones. The length, they say, was pretty long, about 22 meters. Yeah. They say it has a fairly regular interior width. But it must have been made of 16 upright stones. 14 of them are preserved on the left and 15 on the right. So that is the Vieira Dolmen. Here's another picture of the inside. So interesting. And Ricky also sent me a YouTube video, which I thought was kind of interesting, about cave paintings. I don't know if I'm allowed to show someone else's YouTube video, but I'll show you the pictures from it. Let me take this off the screen. Here it is. Now this is pretty cool. And I'll play it for you. Yeah, prehistoric cave paintings. Pretty interesting to look at them up close. That one looks kind of like a horse to me. Big body, small head. Messages from the past. Yeah, fascinating. Is that a deer, some type of elk? Things we find inside the caves.
Present. Why paint on cave walls? The answer may be more complicated and spooky than we thought. Evidence found in New Zealand studying ancient tree trunks embedded in wetlands has provided evidence for the date of the so-called Le Champ excursion. This was where the magnetic poles of Earth switched positions briefly about 42,000 years ago. It's possible that this may have caused climate changes and an influx of solar and cosmic radiation that drove humans at the time into caves for protection.
So maybe that's what's going to drive us into caves, but we'll be ready because we'll know where all the good ones are. So thank you to Ricky for all the suggestions and for taking us to Hide in Your Cave Monday. I'll give you this back. It was Hide in Your Cave Monday. Before we leave, how about we do a lottery update? Because somebody won big. I don't know if you were following this, but there's a $515 million jackpot, Powerball jackpot. And it was won by someone in Southern California. Yeah, I was hoping one of you might have won it, but maybe not. This lucky Southern California winner was sold in Orange County. They hit all 5 numbers, 7, 11, 21, 53, 61. The Powerball number was 2. They sold it at a 7-Eleven store in Anaheim. A second person hit all 5 numbers, but not the mega, and they get $279,000. The 7-Eleven in Anaheim gets $1 million for selling the winning ticket. So that's pretty cool. The next Powerball drawing takes place today, and the next prize resets to $20 million. That's a far cry from $515 million. But there you go. So, as always, I hope somebody won it who really needed it or who will do really good things with it, because that's a big, big jackpot. All right, everybody. Well, we started the show a little bit on time. I do have another story I could do, but I don't want to keep you too much past. And I'm starting to get more stuffed up. Can't shake this cold, I'll tell you. How about if we take a look at these pictures of the eclipse that happened over the weekend? Some photos came in, and I thought I would share them with you. These were sent into Sky News, and these eclipse chasers grabbed some pictures. You can see in this one, this little bite being taken out of the sun. This was taken in Greenwich at the Royal Observatory. So that's kind of a cool one. Here's another one. And remember how they said that you could see devil horns? At this angle, you can kind of see the whole devil horn with the points, how it looks from afar. Yeah, there's another really cool picture of the eclipse. All right, I'm getting more and more stuffed up, and I hate having my voice sound like that for you guys. So I will say have a great rest of your day. Make it a really good one. Please join me tomorrow for the Mark Thompson Show. Thank you to everyone for all the contributions and for all the participation in the chat. Gordon says, I wish I knew my lucky number so I could win money for a house. Okay, I'm rooting for you. I hope you win too, Gordon. Absolutely. Nolafidian says, with so many people winning, why don't I ever win? Because I never play. That's right. Absolutely. Viewfinder says there's a stone levitation guy in Florida. Oh. Hey, everyone has their thing, right? Yeah. That's okay. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your day. Make it a really good one. Thank you again for contributing to the show, being here and participating. I just really, really love you all so much. Make it a good one, and I'll see you back here tomorrow.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
My apologies for the misfire. Thanks, Teacher Lori.